AECT Standard 1 Content Knowledge. To show proficiency, candidates must be able to assess and manage applications of educational technology in order to create and use instructional materials. To demonstrate my proficiency of Standard 1 content knowledge, I chose to highlight two artifacts. For EdTech 512, I created an online course entitled Online Atmosphere and Weather. ET 512 was my last elective of the MET, and this course reflects many of the ideas I learned throughout the program. I chose to use My Haiku by PowerSchool to house the course designed for medically excused students. There are 5 modules in the class, and each module follows the same format. First, students see the goals for the unit, followed by the required readings and videos. Next, students participate in 3 activities to help them learn the content and self-assess their activities using the activity rubric. Next, the students take an online quiz. And last, students reflect upon their learning. In EdTech 521, Online and Blended Learning, we had an assignment called the Paperless Classroom. For the paperless classroom, I took a unit of instruction from my traditional bricks and mortar class and updated it to reflect a blended learning environment. First, I assessed the current activities that I use in my bricks and mortar classroom and determined if there was a better way to present the material and have students interact with the material through blended activities and technology. This unit of instruction taught me to evaluate lessons to determine if technology can or should replace some of the traditional learning activities, and it has helped me as I continue to update my instruction 1 unit and 1 lesson at a time. AECT Standard 2 Content Pedagogy. To demonstrate mastery of AECT Standard 2, candidates must reflect upon their practice to implement educational technologies and processes that are grounded upon content and pedagogy. I chose 1 artifact to highlight Standard 2. I created Life in the Fast Lane, the Science of MHS Hornets for EdTech 542 project-based learning. I had the idea for this unit of instruction for a number of years, but was unsure how to build or implement it. EdTech 542 project-based learning gave me the tools, knowledge, and plan to build the unit, Life in the Fast Lane, MHS Hornet Athletes. In this project, students learn about kinematics through the lab activities, readings, and videos, all while looking at it through the lens of athletics. In particular, students must apply kinematics to the motion of student athletes. The project culminates with students creating a video on a topic in kinematics as it applies to MHS athletics. Students use their kinematic knowledge to explain the motion of the athletes and make suggestions as to how the athletes can improve their performance through kinematics. The project overview page includes the driving questions, sub-questions, 21st century learning skills, and 2 entry events videos. This page is the backbone of the project as the driving question and sub-questions guide the process and all activities in the project-based unit. The Student Learning Guide maps out the process and the technologies that students use during the project, as well as the rubrics and reflections. The project calendar page helps both students and teachers manage the process. The calendar includes a guide for completing preliminary work, as well as team meetings and meetings with the teacher. Project-based learning gave me the tools to begin to transition my class to a more constructivist environment. As a result, I am updating old lessons and creating new project-based units to replace them. AECT Standard 3 Learning Environments. In order to demonstrate mastery of AECT Standard 3 Learning Environments, Candidates must be able to facilitate learning by creating, using, evaluating, and managing the learning environment. In order to show my competency, I chose to highlight two artifacts: EdTech 513, E-Learning Strategies for a Face-to-Face Classroom, and EdTech 513, Faded Worked Example Screencast. In EdTech 513, I created a faded worked example on horizontally launched projectiles. In a faded work example, a problem or process is clearly explained and shown. In each successive example, the last step is faded out, eventually leading for the learner to solve the entire problem alone. In EdTech 513, we reflected on e-learning strategies for face-to-face classrooms. Learning about the multimedia principles has changed the way I present information to my students. Here is an example of my old presentation on Newton's laws in physics. I break nearly every single multimedia principle. Not enough pictures, too many words and pictures competing with each other. As a result of EdTech 513, I updated my physics presentations using the multimedia principles. Here is an example of one of my new presentations. I have created a series of shorter presentations using the segmenting principles, and within each presentation, I attempt to utilize the multimedia principles. My next step is to add narration for these presentations. AECT Standard 4, Professional Knowledge and Skills. AECT Standard 4 Professional Knowledge and Skills requires candidates to design, develop, implement, and evaluate technology-rich learning environments within a supportive community of practice. I chose the EdTech 521 Online Learning and Blended Learning End of Session Reflection to demonstrate my mastery. This one assignment had students reflecting on all of the projects they created for EdTech 521. And in those reflections, I look at my ability to collaborate, lead, assess, evaluate, and utilize ethics. In EdTech 521, we had to do an end of session reflection that asked us to reflect on all of our work from the semester, as well as our vision for how this class would affect our own classrooms. In my reflection, I talk about how my vision of my classroom has evolved over the years as I've been in the EdTech program. I envision a class where my students are working together, asking questions, making mistakes, and growing from their mistakes. I picture a class where students are working on different parts of the same unit on any given day. I picture a class where students own their learning. EdTech 521 gave me a name for this vision. The name for this is blended learning. We reflected on each of our assignments at the end of the session. Enough time had passed that I could still remember the project, yet it wasn't too much time, so it was still fresh enough in my mind that I could reflect on what worked and where I could improve upon it. One of the projects was social media in the classroom. In that project, I created several Pinterest boards, which is a tool that I had never really used before, and I've created several more as a result of this class. Additionally, we all posted on a Padlet page, and I use Padlet in my own classroom on a regular basis with my students. As part of EdTech 521, I created several new lessons, one on work, power, and energy, another on measurement and significant figures in physics. EdTech 521 gave me the tools to begin to create my blended classroom. AECT Standard 5, Research. To demonstrate mastery of AECT Standard 5 research, candidates must be able to apply research methods and synthesize research into their practice. For this standard, I chose to highlight the two annotated bibliographies I created, one for EdTech 501 and the second for EdTech 504. EdTech 501, I created an annotated bibliography on the use of a one-to-one program in my classroom to help students engage and take more responsibility for their learning. This was the first time I had ever done an annotated bibliography. I really enjoyed researching the topic and finding articles that supported the topic and discussed it. Additionally, I liked how within an annotated bibliography, as one lists the articles, one then gives a brief summary of what the article talks about. It is a great jumping off point for doing research for the future. Here are some of the other articles I found regarding the topic. Formatting in APA was also new to me, and so that was something that I've learned to do as a result of this class, and I now have my students use APA references when they're doing projects in my science class. In EdTech 504, I created an annotated bibliography on the use of a flipped classroom to promote constructivist learning in a science classroom. As a result of this research, I do employ flipping in my own classroom. I have created some of my own videos and use other videos that I have found online to help flip my classroom and make it more engaging for my students. Additionally, I chose to highlight the video blog I created for EdTech 541 on walled gardens. In EdTech 541, I created a video blog on walled gardens and education. This project required that I research the topic and create a video blog on it. My peers additionally commented on my project. Here's a quick look at my project on how to lower the walls in education. Thanks for watching my videos for EdTech 592 portfolio class. The Boise State University Master of Educational Technology program has transformed my classroom and continues to transform my classroom every day. As a result of the program, I have several areas I want to research and several projects I want to update and complete in order to make my classroom a more constructivist and engaging environment for my students.